Okay, so like, you know how sometimes you just think like, what if things were totally different?
Hmm.
Well, we're going to do that today, but with cricket, thankfully. It's going to be fun. So like, we're taking inspiration from this podcast called Across the Boundary,
Right.
and they had this hilarious episode where they were just like, let's pretend boundaries don't exist.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
And they really went all out with it, like fans from India and Pakistan, like totally chilling together in stadiums.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. And like, imagine the media scrambling to come up with headlines like,
Oh my God.
India-Pakistan match ends in a draw, everyone celebrates.
Yeah, you'd never see that.
Never. It's like unthinkable, right?
Totally. It's like they always got to make it a rivalry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what's so funny about it, right?
Yeah.
Like they even imagine these like epic biryani wars, which is so funny because
Oh, yeah. I get it.
even in this like perfect world, they're still like, nah, our biryani's better.
Classic. That's so true, though. Like, food is always a point of pride.
Oh, absolutely. So what do you think about all this? Like this whole idea of cricket without boundaries?
I think it's kind of brilliant how they use humor to talk about, like, some pretty serious stuff, you know? Like, the relationship between India and Pakistan is super complex geopolitically.
Right, it's not simple.
But the podcast shows how fans, like, really just want to enjoy the sport together.
For sure. It's like the love of the game overrides all that other stuff.
Exactly. And they highlight that it's often, like, the politics around it that create the division, not the fans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They even had this image of like rival captains like hugging it out over chai.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, right? Super heartwarming. But also like, could you ever picture that actually happening?
Probably not in the near future.
Yeah, it's a nice thought though.
Definitely.
Oh.
It's like a fantasy, but it's a good fantasy.
Exactly. So like, how can we take this and apply it to real life? Obviously, we can't just erase borders,
Yeah.
but if cricket can make people think about these things, what other passions could we use to bring people together?
It's a really good question. It reminds us that, like, shared passions like music
Yeah.
or art or even, like you said, food, they have the potential to connect us.
Absolutely. Like finding common ground.
Right. And the podcast encourages us to, like, actively look for those things.
Yeah, instead of focusing on the things that divide us.
Exactly.
Like instead of arguing about whose biryani is better, let's just appreciate the fact that we both love biryani.
There you go. That's the spirit.
So like, what do you think our listeners can take away from this whole deep dive?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to remember that, like, the world isn't black and white.
Yeah,
There's always nuance, and there are always people who are trying to build bridges.
totally.
Yeah.
And even though a boundary-free world might seem impossible,
Yeah.
it's still worth striving for, right? Like even small steps towards understanding each other better.
Absolutely. And I think this podcast does a great job of reminding us of that.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, maybe one day we'll all be sharing biryani and cheering for our favorite teams together.
That's the dream.
All right, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
And don't forget to keep looking for those chai sharing moments in your own lives.
Cheers to that.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.